Hey, this is Brock Lemires, and in this video, I'm going to go through how to find the maximum and the minimum values in an array. So these are very useful. They're just kind of a beginner of how to actually kind of cycle through arrays and start thinking about how to determine information about an array. And we'll use this as we do things like sorting and finding elements in it and stuff like that. So let's just jump right into it. So why don't we go ahead and create a new file called array_min_max. And so I'm in my I'm already logged into the Linux server and I'm in the mod08 code along folder. And I'm going to create a new C program file or source code called array max min.c. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start a new comment header. So finding max min of array. And then we'll do that. And what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and just like everything, pound include standard io.h. Then we'll start our main shell. So int main void, then open curly, come on down, return 0 and close curly. And then what I want to do is I want to come in, I'm going to create an array. And we'll do it of each element in the array will be of type double. Let's go ahead and call it D, and we'll make it 5 elements long. And I'm going to initialize it, and let's initialize it to these values that I have in the slides here. So 0.1, 0.3, 4, 3, and a -2. And yep, all right, so do that. And let me pull this over here so you don't have as much stretching there or wraparounds. Okay, and then we're going to do a double. And I'm going to create a variable that's going to hold the maximum value. Okay, so this is what we'll load the maximum value into. And then I'm going to access each element in the array using a for loop. And I'll need a loop variable so that I can use this as the index and go index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now let's think about the algorithm to do this. What we're going to do is we are going to begin by assuming that the first element, index 0, is the maximum. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to assign dmax equal to d index 0. Okay, so that's the assumption that we're starting with. So we said we're going to assume that's the first one. And let's go ahead and just printf, and let's just state that. We're going to start assuming dmax is, and then I'll put percent, let me get this over here so you don't have it. I'm going to do format specifier long float for the double, but I'm going to go let's do .1. We'll do .2 to match slides. Long float, and then we'll do a little return there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in there D0. Okay, and you could have put dmax there too. It would have been the same thing. But then what we do is we're going to start with a loop, and we're going to go through elements 1, 2, 3, and 4. And for each element, we're going to compare it to the current value of dmax. If the new element that we're looking at in our for loop is greater than dmax, we will replace dmax with that element and then move on. And if it is not greater, we will simply not make an assignment to dmax. So as we walk through this, once we're done with all the elements, dmax will hold whatever the highest value is in the array. All right, so let's go ahead and let's create a for loop. So this is going to be a little different than what we've done in the past because we're going to start with I is equal to 1. And that's because we've already said, okay, we assumed that element 0 or index 0 was in dmax, and so we don't need to start with that anymore. So we'll go ahead and we'll iterate through. Our Boolean condition is going to be loop through this until I is equal to 5. And so we'll go from 0. Actually, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then each time you complete the loop, go ahead and increment before you check again. Open our curly, close our curly. And now we're sitting here. And I'm ready to do a little logic. So the first time through this, since we're kind of just learning this, let's be very verbose on our printings. Okay, so let's print out like everything we're doing. So right now we're going to do comparing. And I want to like print the value that we're looking at. So I actually want to go, I want to print out the value I'm looking at. So I'm going to jump all the way over here and I'll just do this. I'll show you what I want to print. I want to print DI. Okay. And that is because I want to show what element in the for loop I'm actually messing with. Okay. So it's going to start with this one, but I want to see that first. And then I want to see that. So I'll go ahead and come back here and go dot, dot, dot. Okay. And there we go. All right. So we compare that. And then what I'm going to do is I'll come down and now I'm going to put an if statement. I'm going to say if di, the element in the array that I'm looking at, if it happens to be greater than the current value of d max, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and update d max with the value I'm looking at because it is now the new max. And since we're being verbose, let's go ahead and print that out. We'll say the new max is format specifier, 2 precision points, long float, and an explanation point. Okay, so I'm going to say I did it. All right, and I'll go ahead and substitute in there dmax. And then if you think about it, that's really all we want to do. That's it. If we don't have a new max, if this value is not bigger, then we don't want to update dmax. But since we're just kind of being, we're kind of trying to print everything out, let's just keep going here. So I'm going to go ahead. And what I mean by that is let's go ahead and put an else condition on here, which we don't need it, but I'm going to do printf. And then if it doesn't make that assignment, I'll say not a new max. Okay. And that way we can see every element that we're looking at. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and curly brackets all over the place. We got curly, 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 curly. Now, once I'm done with the printf statement, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go, I'm trying to get this all on the screen so you can see everything. Let's go ahead and say printf. I'm done with searching through the array for the max value. I'm going to say the max value is, and I'll go ahead and say %. I'm going to do a long float format specifier with 2 decimal places of precision. Long float. And then let's go ahead and return that buddy up and I'll print dmax. And that's my entire program. Okay. All right. So let's take this. I have my other window over here. I'll try to get it out of the, try to move it down here so you can still see the code above. I'm in this directory. I'm going to go ahead and look it and I have my array min max there. I'm going to go ahead and say GCC array max min, sorry, and then I'm going to direct the output to an object file called array, actually an executable called max min. Go ahead and take that C off there. Life is good. Let me do it one more time with warnings all on. Okay, I'm ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and clear this up and I'm going to look at what I have. Array max min is what I'm trying to run. I'm going to go / Sunny Holland. Look in this folder for the executable, not in the Linux path. Go ahead and run it. And oh, baby, let's see what we got here. We're going to start assuming dmax is 0.1. Okay, thank you. Comparing to 0.3, the new max is 0.3. It was larger. Comparing to 4, the new max is 4. Comparing to 3, nah, not a new max. Sorry, 3 is not bigger than 4. And comparing to -2, no, sorry, not a new max. After it's all said and done, the max value is 4. So dmax is holding the largest value. We did it. Okay, so that's pretty awesome. Now let's find the minimum. And this time, what's kind of interesting is let's not do all the print statements. So now let's do this. I'm going to put a little divider here and say finding minimum. This time, let's not put all these print statements and let's make the code really concise. So all I really need is a double to hold the minimum value. And I'm going to go ahead and just initialize it to the first value in the array, and that'll save a line. And then I'm going to come right here and I'm going to start my for loop. I'm going to say I is equal to 1, and then I is less than 5, and then I plus, and then I'll open up my curlies and I'll come up here and watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say the following. Okay. I'm going to do this. I'm simply going to put if di is, now remember, we're finding the minimum. So when you look at this now, you are going to say, is the value I'm looking at less than what I have? And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I have 0.1 in dmin, and I'm going to say, is 0.3 less than this? If it's not, don't update it. Is 4 less than it? Oh, it's not? Don't update it. Is 3 less? No, don't update it. Is -2? Yes, update it. So I come down here and that's the difference in the logic. So I say di, if it's less than dmin, then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to update it with dmin equals di. And now you know what else? What's I'm going to do? Nothing, because this if statement will only execute when this Boolean condition of di less than dmin is true, and it'll only make that assignment to update the current value of dmin when that's true. So I am actually done with this for loop. So I can just say printf the min value is format specifier for long float with two precisions, two decimal places of precision. Go ahead and slap that little fellow down there. And I'm going to print D min. And that is now my code to find the minimum. So let's go see if that works. So I'm going to go ahead and GCC this up, and I'll go ahead and run it. And look at this. The max value is 4. Okay, you got to save your file though. And so if I compile this up, now run it, look at this. The max value is 4, the min value is -2. So it did indeed work. Now think about this. Up here, we had a lot of code. Okay, we had a lot of code for finding the max. That was just because we were printing everything out. And that helped us understand how the looping structure is working and where we were. And that's why printf is so powerful. It helps you understand where you are in the program and what the values are that you're looking at in any given location. But once you get the algorithm set, you take those printfs out. Look at how concise the code is to find the minimum. You simply just iterate through the array. You only make the assignment when the pattern is what you want, which was less than dmin, the current value is less than dmin. Make the assignment, boom, you are done. Okay, that is how you find the maximum and the minimum value of an array. And see ya.